Hello, and welcome to the Emmy Awards. I'm your host, Emmy Cardinale, and this is my podcast where I talk about what I've been watching or rewatching normally once a week. If this is the first episode of mine that you stumbled upon and you enjoy it, please feel free to follow me wherever you listen to podcasts so you can get notified when I upload a new episode. Like and subscribe if you're listening to this on YouTube. All of that good stuff. Truly, thank you so much for tuning in. I am so excited to get into this episode because this is the beginning of my Big Brother 28 coverage, and I am so excited. I'm so excited. I've been having a ball with the season so far, and I'm so excited to get into it. A few mini disclaimers before I get into my coverage of this week. Because the week started without feeds, this episode is going to be a lot more based off of the edited show than I plan my coverage to be moving forward. I do have like my opinions and like I'm gonna flesh some things out based off of like feeds and share my perspective of watching feeds, but I'm not as structured in terms of like what happened what day because some stuff happened off feeds like before feeds started. So in that regard, this isn't going to be as structured as episodes in the future are going to be. Like for week 2, I've already started taking notes of like what happened Thursday night after HOH, what happened Friday. Today I'm recording this Friday. So like I'm going to be a bit more structured for week 2 and onward based off of like chronologically what happened every day on feeds, and then I'll fill out more of like today a nomination ceremony occurred. When we get the full context of that or more context to that in the edited show for Sunday's episode, I'll include that in my recap for Friday. But you know what I mean? Like I hope that makes sense. Just this episode a lot more centered on like the edited show than I plan the recaps to be, just because of the way the beginning of a Big Brother season occurs, if that makes sense. So anyways, those are my disclaimers. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great time and I hope you enjoy my coverage. I'm so excited to talk about Big Brother. I love this so much. So in the premiere, going into the premiere, I already knew that Angela, Rick Devens, and Dee were going to be returnees, or like Angela's returnee, Devens and Dee not returnees to Big Brother, but like I knew that they were going to be on the cast. I knew going into the premiere episode that not only was Dee on the cast, but she was already the HOH. Like I already knew all of these things going in. So I didn't really buy the whole Rachel fake out thing. I was really surprised to see her because I'm like, I've heard about Dee. Uh, I didn't know why she was here, but I didn't think that she was coming back. Like I was very confused. But basically, we meet the people based off of the first little group of people. I really liked Barrett. Stood out to me that like, okay, Fork Found in Kitchen. Who would have thought that Barrett would stand out to me, but he did. I was obviously rooting for Angela, and I was obviously rooting for Rick Devens. I did name a foster kitten Rick Devens earlier this year while Survivor 50 was airing. And I hope that kitten is doing well. He got adopted. This was months ago. But like I do have a fondness for Rick Devens. I named a kitten after him. Based off of the newbie, it's hard for me to judge, honestly, based off of the edited show. So I didn't have many people that I was really rooting for from the beginning, except the people from Survivor, Angela, and then Barrett stood out to me. I have to be honest. Those are the people I was interested in from the beginning. Okay. Oh, also Jason, because I thought it was really interesting to have somebody from like the drag race world on Big Brother. I thought that was super interesting. I was interested in Jason as well. So in the premiere, basically like all the house guests come in and then they separate into like 3 groups, and each group competes to like bring a legend in. So the first group brings Angela in, the second group brings Rick Devens in, and then the third group brings Rachel in. And the first person in each competition to like the person to buzz in that competition is safe for that competition. So that's basically 3 people are safe based off of that competition, and then they're bringing the legends in. So the last competition they bring in, the last person they bring in is Rachel, but then Rachel gets attacked by dinosaurs and she falls in a volcano and she's gone, and that's basically how the first episode ends. Is like they're replacing her with Dee. Okay. And it's like if you didn't know that it was Dee going into the premiere, you could like piece it together based off of okay. And also going into like the 3 little competitions, Barrett and Ashley, they ended up sitting out because they didn't like, it was like a scavenger, it was like a competition to get to the other, whatever. The point is they sat out of the competition. Okay, I have to be honest, I really don't care much about comps on Big Brother, so I'm not going to be a super like detailed recap of like this happened in the comp and then this. I don't care about the comps that way. I'm so sorry. I really don't. That I'm not a sports commentator. I don't really care about the comps. So like I couldn't tell you in detail what happened in what comp went. All I know is that there were 3 groups: Devin's group, Angela's group, and then Rachel's group, which then became Dee's group. Okay. And Ashley and Barrett did not compete. So they were not eligible for safety because, again, one person in each group was safe. Okay. The 3 people that were safe after the first night were Chuck, Rome, and Jason. They each won their individual competition, so they were safe they couldn't be nominated, basically. So Dee's brought into, I lost my train of thought. So if you didn't know it was Dee going into it, you could have picked it up because the big table is like a time machine thing. So then Julie puts in the day that Dee won Survivor. So if you didn't know Dee was the one they were bringing in, you could have figured it out based off the context clues. I already knew not only that she came in, but also that she was HOH. So that meant nothing to me. I'm like, okay, yay, Dee. One funny thing, I forgot to mention this. When they went in the time machine and they went back in time, the date they chose for Rick Devens was July 7th, 2018, because apparently that was like day 39 of his season of Survivor. That also was the day that the day that I adopted my cat Ivy. I was like, oh my God, me and Rick Devens are so connected. I met my cat Ivy on July 4th. It was a Thursday. She was up for adoption through a rescue organization that, like, you know how when you go to like pet stores, sometimes like Petco, like they have anyways, she lived in a PetSmart. So I met her at the PetSmart, but like I couldn't adopt her right then. And then that Saturday, the 7th of July, I went back because they were having an adoption event and I adopted her that day. So July 7th, 2018, very important day for me personally as well. Shout out to Rick Devens. But anyways, I did watch BB Unlocked. I really didn't care for much of like the segments. I really don't care to recap that. But I will say they did reveal like Dee in that and showed her coming in and all of them being shocked. Rick Devens is obviously happy. Angela's excited. And I was really thrilled. I was really thrilled. I have not seen Dee's season. I watched Survivor 50. I did talk about it on this podcast. I watched Survivor 50. I have yet to see Rick Devens' original season, although I did watch a video that was like going through Rick Devens' highlights from his season. So like that's not exactly watching his season, but I did watch like, you know, his best moments. And I know the general arc of his story on his season of Survivor. Dee, I feel like I know generally how she played, but I haven't watched her season. And they, interestingly enough, it's really interesting because I'm like really glad that I started watching Survivor this year because I feel like it's really helping me understand Dee and Devens, their approach to the game and how it differs from Survivor. And like I'm really, really glad that I understand this because I feel like if I didn't understand Survivor, and I'm not saying that I'm like an expert in Survivor, but I understand it a lot more than I did last year. So if I hadn't watched Survivor like I hadn't gotten accustomed to like the format of the game of Survivor before I was watching them, I think I'd be a little bit more confused. Like I knew that there were tribes, but I didn't understand what that really meant until I watched a season. Like I didn't realize, like I understood there were teams, but I didn't realize that you literally don't interact with like the other tribes except at competitions. So like I would have been confused about like Dee and Devon's, like they weren't on the same tribe. Like they went to two tribals together, and the second one Dee went home. So it's like they really didn't interact much in the game, especially because New Age Survivor, it's like there's a tribal every night. It's not like Big Brother where it's like if let's say there were tribes and then they merged, but then there were two evictions, that would be 2 weeks together. Like they literally had like 2 nights together. So they really didn't like, so I think understanding like Survivor a bit more, it's also just so fun to watch them play Big Brother. There was a moment too where, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but Dee wins HOH, which I've already mentioned. And at some point and I watched this on feeds. It wasn't in the edited episode, but on feeds, I believe it was, what the fuck is his name? Kamu was talking to Dee about like possible situations and like if somebody who wasn't one of the nominees won the veto, like would she want somebody to use the veto? And she's like, it's their veto. And that's so funny to me. And I really appreciate like that kind of perspective. And I'm not saying that every single person on Big Brother, like that this is a very specifically like nobody on Big Brother would view the game this way, but I do think there's just something about like Big Brother in this era where a lot of people are like, I'm going to use my veto. Like, oh, if this person wins the veto, can we convince them to use it? Like, there's a lot of this like thinking of the veto and how you can use it to then like where that doesn't exist on Survivor to the same extent. It's like if somebody uses their idol on you, that's like really crazy and it's like out there and it's like, whereas using a veto, and again, I think it's because, and I talked about this on an episode where I was talking about Survivor, and how much I love when somebody plays an idol on you, is that like the mechanics of a veto versus the mechanics of an idol are just different because one, there's no being nominated in Survivor. So either if you use the idol on yourself or like you use the idol on somebody else, you're risking going home, but also similarly enough, you might also not be like the mechanics are just different because on Big Brother, I think it's stupid to use the veto on somebody else if you're on the block, but that's because you're on the block, whereas if in Survivor, if you use your idol on somebody else, I think that's really fun and interesting because there's a lot of times where that could help you, like you weren't going to be voted out anyway, you know what I mean? Anyways, I'm jumping all over the place. But I was really excited for Dee to come in. And it's just the three returnees competing for the HOH. And basically in their teams, they're like building a puzzle and their team members are like holding up the board while they build the flame puzzle. On Dee's team are Yosh, Lyric, Jason, and Melody. And of those people, Jason's the one who is safe. On Angela's team, it's Kamu, Rome, Mallory, and Lala, which is Latrice, but they call her Lala. I was so confused when I started watching feeds and they were like, Lala this, Lala that. I'm like, am I on Vanderpump Rules? Lala what? On Rick's team is Taylor, Drew, Haley, and Chuck. And of that team, Chuck is the one that's safe. Dee, in her confessionals, talks about how like they say that winning the first HOH is like not the best move, but she already has a target on her back anyway, so she might as well. And I do think if you're a returnee, winning an early HOH does matter. I think it's a risk to win HOH early if you're coming in as a newbie because it can be a very dangerous like position to be in. I think it really depends what kind of game you're playing because like if I were to play a strategic game, I'm not particularly a competition threat. So I would want to go in and like not be on people's radar for a little bit. And you know what I mean? So it's like I think avoiding being the first HOH is good if you're playing like a low key undercover game and then you start playing more actively later in the game. Or like the way you're playing early on is just like more subtle and then you're building to like active playing where you hold power. Like I don't think that being the first HOH is necessarily bad. It just puts you on the radar, but Dee's already on people's radar anyway, so it's not really like anything scandalous. So I think it was the right move for her. Dee does tell her group that they're all safe, and I was watching feeds before I'd watched the HOH episode. So she had mentioned this on feeds of like, I thought maybe I said it, maybe I didn't. And I didn't know if she had. She did actually say that. I don't really think it holds much weight, especially because the way she goes about nominations, to me, I understand why it'd be like, I don't know. Anyways, let me get into it. Sorry. Also, the team that has the least pieces stacked or have nots, and that's Devin's team. So Dee wins, and then Devin's team are have nots for the week. Dee, Angela, and Devin's are aligned from the start, which I was very excited to see, and I do think that's a very smart move. Because like Angela knows more about the format of Big Brother, and then Dee and Devin have their own skills from playing Survivor and being very strategic in their own. Like I think they're such a great team in the different skill sets they have, and I love their dynamic so far. Like 2 weeks into the game, I'm really enjoying them. Jason and Angela in Sunday's episode, they bonded from the beginning, and this is important to note because of things that happen later in the week that make Jason more confusing to me. And the thing is, I have a lot of feelings on Jason, and I'll get to it when I get to like the actual thing that I have opinions on. But it was really interesting because I watched a lot of these episodes. Like I was watching feeds, and then I watched the episodes after the fact. So I had seen the stuff of like Jason and the way he was talking about Angela and the way he was approaching the game before I watched this. And it really just made it even more confusing of why he was going about handling things the way that he was handling things. But like literally in Sunday's episode, Jason talks about how like he's never been around this many straight people, and he's like like he's a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit anxious. And Angela's like, my not my brother, my son is gay, and he just came out to me like recently, and I didn't know, and like I love him so much, and like it was very beautiful. It was very beautiful. Like Angela wanted to align with him from the start, which makes it even more confusing to me. I don't think there's anything wrong is subjective. I don't judge people for manipulating and lying and like whatever to further themselves in the game, even if it's just to build trust or like to build a narrative around you of like for people to feel sympathy for you so they keep you around or whatever it is. I don't judge that. For me, it's just like it just feels it doesn't feel like you're doing it for a reason. I just don't understand it. Like Matt Hoffman lied about his wife having a rare disease, I believe. I don't know if he lied that she had cancer. I swear he lied that she had a rare disease because I remember him saying that like he was going to donate money to the like, you know, I don't think it was cancer. It really doesn't matter. Somebody on the cast was really upset because she had cancer and she felt like he connected with her on that when his wife wasn't actually ill. But I don't remember what disease he said she had. That's besides the point. That was part of his, like, he came into it with that strategy to win sympathy and have people like believe him and care about him. And so to me, while that is very like diabolical and you shouldn't lie about people having diseases in real life, to me, that is what it is. It's just Jason, I find confusing his purposeful, like trying to pull on Angela's heartstrings and then going behind her back and saying that he like doesn't like her or like revealing that he's doing these things to make her all emotional to like other house guests where I'm like, but Angela liked you anyway. It's not like she had the veto or you needed to be saved and you used that to win favor to get her to do something in the game, or even you guys weren't really connecting. So you opened up about this to build favor in the game. Like it feels like he was just doing it to be messy. And that bothers me more than like the lie itself. I'm like, it doesn't have a purpose. Why are you doing this? I also think that, like, not that I'm against people lying, I'm not. I just think on a game like Big Brother, where you're there for so long and you're living with people, I, a lot of the times, feel like the lying, unless you can do it like well. I just feel like it's a hindrance, and it's like hard. Like, I feel like you really need to go in prepared with like a version of events you want to tell if you're trying to lie about something. I really feel like most of the time the lies, I'm like, what is that helping you? Like, how is that helping you? And I think too many iconic players of yore lied about their professions to the point where people felt like anything that was like a prestigious or like good profession makes you seem like a threat. It's like, if you're smart, unless you do something like Ashley where you play like dumb the entire season on purpose, like I just feel like if you're smart, you're going to come across like you're smart regardless. So why lie about your profession of like, no, I'm not a rocket scientist. It's like, if people pick up on the fact that you're smart, they're going to pick up on the fact that you're smart regardless. I just think sometimes I'm like, what is the purpose of that? Like, Derek, I understand in Big Brother like 16 why he lied about being an undercover detective, because the whole point of being an undercover detective is that you're like trying to blend in to like I get that. But then it's like anybody who was a cop after that was like, I'm going to lie about being a cop. Nobody cares that you're a cop, except maybe because they don't like cops. Like, it's so unserious to me sometimes with the lies. Sorry for going on that tangent. It's just like the thing about Jason for me, it's like it's not even about the like trying to manipulate Angela. It's like the way he did it, the like for seemingly no reason, and then also went back and like told people that he was doing it. So then it's like you're just not a good liar. You're just not a good liar. It's like, be a method actor or don't. You know what I mean? Chuck, Haley, and Camus aligned early, and I really don't like them. I really don't like them. They are unfortunately aligned with some people that I do like, but I really don't like them. The good news is a lot of people don't like Haley, so even though she's aligned with the people that I'm rooting for, I think she will be an easy, like, if the other side of the house is turning on them, hopefully Haley will be the first to go before like Devins and Dee and the people that I like better. So that's what I'm hoping for. Chuck and Camus kind of flops of the century. Chuck just annoys me. Camus just annoys me. I have nothing positive to say about them. Haley annoys me, but I find her slightly entertaining. Like Chuck, I'm not moved at all. I just find him annoying. And Camus, I find him insufferable. Haley has moments where I'm like, okay, that was kind of funny. Like, okay, I could have like there was a moment last night on feed. Sorry to jump ahead to week 2. Okay. But literally she and Dee are like, I don't know where, but they overhear somebody saying like their names, and then she confronts them. It was so funny. Like, there are moments where Haley, like, I find her entertaining. I feel like she's adding something. Okay. Even if it's just a common enemy, she's adding something to the season for me. Chuck and Camus pissing me off. Chuck especially, actually no, Camus and Chuck tied. Okay. Chuck literally in his intros has talked about how he wants to find a wife. I don't care. This is not the show for that. Like, it may be the show. I do, showmances happen, and I do think there's something about Big Brother where like you spend a lot of time together, you literally live together. Like, I think it can be a solid foundation for good relationships. That is simply not the purpose of the show, and I don't care about that. Like, shut up. I hate when people, for me, it's fine if you go on Big Brother and naturally you make connections. So maybe that's a romantic one, maybe it's not. But I really hate when people go on Big Brother and they're like, I'm here, like, I want to find a husband. I want to find a wife. I don't care. I don't care. Why are you here? Like, what are you talking about? That shit pisses me off. Anyways, Dee and Devins locked in from the beginning, and they kind of map out the way that they want to align with people. So Dee is going to rope in and align with like the strong competitors, which is the Camus, Chuck, Haley trio. And then Devins will bring in the misfits, which is like Barrett and Drew. And then they're aligned with Angela as well. Like Dee and Devins, they're like locked in as number ones. And then in they have a solid final 2, and then Angela is their final 3, and then branching out from there, Drew, Barrett, and then the red corner people are then below them. You know what's so funny is before the episode premiered, I think maybe it was made clear on feeds before the episode, but genuinely there was a moment like day 2 of feeds or something where Barrett referred to Haley, Camus, and was it Barrett? I don't know. It was either, I think it was Barrett or it was Drew, referred to them as the Red Corner. And before I knew that was an alliance name, and before anybody knew it was an alliance name, I think people were just like, that's so funny. He's calling them Republicans. Like, I feel like maybe that's just me, but that's what I thought it was on BB Twitter. Like, I thought he was like, that's a corner of but no, apparently that's their alliance name. Like, okay. Which the Red Corner is Dee, Devins, Chuck, Haley, and Camus. Devins tells Angela and Drew about the Red Corner later in the week. I don't know what day this is because I'm like, it's all messed up in my brain because of not having feeds for some of this. Anyways, but I think it's really interesting, not to go on a tangent, but Julie Chen really like doesn't like Rick Devens. And part of the reason was she was like, I think Rick Devens, like when I saw that he like let it slip and he had loose lips, like I'm like, girl, please. I like, the thing is, I do think sometimes people spill too much. And I do think he shouldn't have just told like Angela, and like if he's really locked in with Dee, maybe he should have confided in her. But I don't think there's anything wrong with like Dee's like, this may blow up in our faces. But from my experience watching Big Brother, a lot of the times the things that blow up in people's faces is like if you're lying. So if you have a core alliance and you're like, hey, you're my core alliance and I have these sub alliances, that actually tends to work out better. Like I feel like when people have core alliances and then they have their hands in a bunch of different pots and they're in a bunch of different alliances, but they're not confiding with their original core alliance, their other alliances, then that backfires on them. Like, I think if you have a core alliance and that's genuinely who you're riding with, I don't think there's anything wrong with being honest with those people that you're also aligned with other people. I think that's helpful. I think that's productive. And I don't think that means you're like spilling. Like, to me, this would be spilling if it was like he was telling somebody he wasn't aligned with. I do think the mistake he made was like not checking with Dee if like she wanted Angela to know, so then maybe they could tell Angela together, because then maybe the only way that I see this really being like not a good move is like if then Angela or Drew would start to be like, well, would like start to worry about where they are in the totem pole, because like, why didn't Dee tell me this or something? Like, that's the only moment for me where I'm like, okay, maybe you should have confided in Dee, but I don't think there's anything wrong with telling your core alliance that you're aligned with other people. Like, of all the things to criticize Rick Devens for, and for that to be the reason that Julie was so intensely anti-Rick Devens is so unserious to me. I'm like, he has loose lips. Like, everybody, like, what do you mean? Then, so I mentioned the Red Corner Alliance. The Crossovers Alliance is Dee, Devens, Angela, Barrett, and Drew. And then the Red Corner and the Crossovers kind of merged, but I think that happened in week 2, so I'll get to that next week. I'm sorry. I swear to God, next week I'll be more organized, because my plan is to record, like, unfortunately, 2 days of Big Brother, not 2 days, but like a day and a half of Big Brother has already happened since somebody went home. So I'm like a little bit ahead in my brain. But starting next week, my goal is to record on Thursdays after the live episode. So I'll be a bit more organized. But for nominations, Dee decides that the easiest way to do things is that she's going to nominate one person from each of the group. So remember, the HOH comp had the 3 groups, Angela's group, Rick's group, and Dee's group. So she's just going to pick one person from each team. And that way it's like very simple and like not super targeted. And I think for the first week, this makes a lot of sense. You don't know people, and it's really hard early on to target people cleanly without it coming across as like, I just have something against you. Like, I think it can be really tricky in the beginning when you're deciding who to nominate, especially on a season like this one and the last few seasons where we've had 3 nominees from the beginning, where it's like there's so many people, like there's so many people you have to nominate, especially if somebody uses the veto. Then you have 4 nominees. Like it's a lot of people to nominate. So I think something clean like this is really smart at the beginning. And obviously she doesn't want to nominate anybody she's aligned with. And Jason, Rome, and Chuck are already safe. So she doesn't want to nominate Chuck anyway, because he's in an alliance with her. But she can't nominate Rome and she can't nominate Jason. So then, and she doesn't want to do all girls and all guys, or all girls or all guys, because either way that could look dicey. So she settles on Mallory, Yash, and Taylor. Now, going into the nominees, Kamu, who is in this alliance with Dee, is really, really against Dee nominating somebody from her group because he thinks that's going to look bad because that person helped her win and blah, blah, blah. And he's so annoying about it. And it's like, yes and no. Like, I think either way, you're really screwed in the beginning. And I understand that mindset, but at the end of the day, the groups were like randomly generated. So I think it would be a little bit unfair. Like, I understand her wanting to be like, this is just easier. There's 3 groups of people. Let me just pick one person from each group instead of like, I don't know. You really can't win in this situation. It did just irritate me. I understand his point. I think it just irritated me how hard he was going in this direction when it's like, just shut up or I'll nominate you. Like, I know we're aligned, but it's like I just can't this early on. I'm sorry. I would just be glad it wasn't me. Like, why are you trying to be like, hey, for your game? It's like, if that does bite her in the ass, then like have that backfire on her. What the hell does that have to do with you in this moment? Like, the way he was trying so hard to be like, I don't think this is the smartest game move, to Dee from Survivor, winner of Survivor 45, dominated that season from all I've heard. Again, I haven't seen it. Irritated the fuck out of me. And I remember when Feeds came on, like, I was like, they're really talking about Dee like she's an idiot. Like, it really pissed me off. And then she had a cam talk where she's like, they really think I'm an idiot. Like, and she said either to the camera or she was talking to somebody else about this, where she's like, they come up to me, and maybe both, but I remember her saying to somebody, she's like, they come up to me and they don't ask me like, hey, what do you want to do? Or like, what's best for your game? They tell me, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. Like, they think that they can just like push, like, and it really, really, like, I'm glad that she had that moment. I mean, from the beginning, I'm like, they're treating her like she's stupid. I don't know why they're treating her that way. But it was really, really validating to have her be like, they're treating me like I'm stupid. Like, they don't even know. And she doesn't, like, she's aligned with them, but just to like use them. Like, when Feeds came back, I don't like these 3 people. So I was like, oh, why are Dee and Devin aligned with them? But that's not really the core group. It's just kind of like they're a good periphery alliance to have. And I understand that. And I'm not against it, as long as it's not the core. And a lot of people don't like Haley. And I do think that helps them if they're aligned with Haley, because again, when that group starts being targeted from the other side, at least hopefully Dee and Devins will not be the first people, or Angela will not be the first people to be targeted on that side, because Haley's there. I imagine, honestly, even like Rome in week 2, sorry to jump ahead, but like at some point Rome's talking about how much he hates Chuck. Like, I think there's a lot of shields that they have, the vets right now, which I think is good. I am rooting for the vets. Okay, I know a lot of people don't like when returnees come and then they steamroll. Here's the thing. For me, I root for the people that I am interested in. The ones who I find their game interesting, who I think brings something to the show, who I like how they're playing and how they're approaching the game. I don't care if they're a newbie, if they're a winner. I don't care. I am rooting for the people who I think are playing the game the best or the most interestingly. That's who I'm rooting for. So right now on Feeds, I like the way Dee and Devin and Angel are approaching the game. I like the way they're gaming. So that's who I'm rooting for among other people. Like, for me, it's not about like, oh, they're vets. They've played other games. It's like, are they playing the most interesting game? Do I like what they're doing? That's what I care about. And I also think maybe it's just because I have a bit of a a newfound love for Survivor. Like, I'm a new fan to Survivor, and I literally just like grew a fondness for Rick Devens earlier this year, like, and named a foster kitten after him, completely not thinking that he would in any way be on Big Brother, which is, Big Brother's like my show. I've been watching Big Brother for a long time. I'm new to Survivor. Out of like, I just liked Rick Devens the most. I literally, when I was naming my foster kittens, I was gonna name them. I had two boys and a girl, and so I was gonna name them after the wonderful, like the Cerise wonderful wizard of whatever, the Aussie Cerise Rizzo alliance. I was gonna name them after that, but then I really wanted to name one of the kittens Rick Devens, so I ended up not naming a kitten Aussie, and I named the third one Rick Devens simply because I enjoyed him that much. Like, I had no idea that he would be on the season. I understand that I have like a bias, but I think if it was three like returnees all from Big Brother, maybe I'd feel a little bit differently. I don't really know. I think it's so fun to watch players from Survivor on Big Brother that I'm rooting for them. If I didn't like them and I found them annoying or I hadn't like whatever, then it'd be one thing. Like, at some point, Dee on feeds was talking to Devins about how she didn't think it was going to be him. She's like, I thought they were going to bring Jonathan on. I'm like, thank God they didn't. Okay, see, if Jonathan was on, I'd be rooting against him. For me, it's not about rooting against people because they're newbies, because they're vets. It's about rooting for the people who I like how they're playing the game. So if Devins and Dee and Angela do things that I like, I'm suddenly not on their team because I don't like the way they're playing, then that will change my opinion. For me, it's really not about, also, Angela's never won. Rick Devens has never won Survivor. Dee, that's my Latina sister, and I think it would be iconic if she was the first person to win Survivor and Big Brother. Like, for me, I just genuinely care about the game more than anything, and I'm interested in seeing people play the game interestingly. Anyways, I'm sorry for going on that tangent. The three nominees are Mallory, Yash, and Taylor. When feeds came on Fridays, those were the three nominees. And that was like all the context we had. And then veto was on Saturday. When feeds came on Friday, again, Dee was aligned with people that I didn't really like. And I was like, damn, I don't really like this. But then getting more into like her thought process and the fact that she's also aligned with Barrett and Drew, I was on board. I was like, hey, Dee, I don't know why I ever doubted you. Also, when feeds came on, I remember, maybe this was early Saturday, honestly, I don't remember, but it was before the veto was played. And we didn't really get to see, because Mallory, as soon as she's nominated, does get really upset. Okay, I forgot to mention this also. Sorry, this wasn't on feed. So again, my brain is like, when something's on feeds, it's a lot easier for me to remember. I don't know what that is, but it's just like the edited show, I don't absorb it as well. I'm a disaster. Anyways, Mallory and this wasn't on feed, so I don't know how much this was edited, but based off of how Mallory acts on feeds, I really don't think she was particularly gaming 2D, but she did like try to get to know Dee, and her conversation was just like trying to get to know Dee instead of like talking game at all. So Mallory's nominated anyways. I lost my train of thought. So Mallory, Yash, and Taylor are nominated. Yash is upset because of Dee previously saying that their team was safe. Mallory is the most outwardly upset. Like, she genuinely freaks out. And we didn't get to see this on feeds, but I do remember early feeds. A lot of the discourse was about how well Yash was handling being nominated in comparison to Mallory. And this is something that's on the edited show. They're very impressed by how well Yash is handling it. I'm very indifferent towards Yash. Like, I just find him frustrating. Like, after the veto ceremony, sorry, not to jump ahead, but after the veto ceremony, he's literally talking about how he needs to like really lock in and win the blockbuster. And I'm like, or you could try to campaign. Like, I just don't like people who solely rely on physical comps. And maybe he did say this, but it really just felt like he was like banking on winning And if he didn't win the comp, then he'd go home and that'd be it. Like Taylor and Ashley less so, but they both campaigned to some extent. Sorry for jumping ahead, but like, I don't know. Of all the people in the house, I don't really have a negative opinion of Yash, but I don't really have a positive one. I'm really indifferent to Yash, but Mallory is really upset. And you know what? I don't really blame her. I really don't blame her. I also don't think it was that dramatic. Like, I think I understand in comparison, Yash and Taylor barely had a reaction. Like Yash was a little bit upset, but he didn't even confront Dee about it. Like, I think he brought it up later, but it wasn't like he went up to her. Like Mallory from the beginning is really upset. Yash and Taylor they don't really have much of a reaction. So I understand in comparison, but genuinely, Mallory barely had a reaction. She cried a little bit, and then like we also didn't see on feed, so maybe it was a bit more intense. From the beginning, Lyric, Melody, and Mallory were friends, but after Mallory got nominated, Lyric and Melody began distancing themselves from Mallory. And this was unnecessary, in my opinion. Like, this early on, honestly, at any point, but I think especially early on, I don't think it's necessary to distance yourself from somebody because you think that you look like an obvious trio, especially because Dee's logic for nominating people was random. It wasn't like we're on different sides of the house or you've wronged me or I'm targeting you, where I would understand like if Dee was like, Mallory, you rubbed me the wrong way, I'm coming after you. I understand why you would want to be like, well, I'm not on her side, because if the HOH is targeting somebody, you want to make it clear you're not a number for the HOH. You want to make it, or you're not a number for that target. Like, I understand distancing yourself in a scenario like that, but in a scenario where the HOH is being explicitly clear that the nominations were random, I don't understand the purpose. I have to be quite honest. Like, it feels like you are it seems unnecessary. And it also, like, on the feeds, multiple people pointed out how untrustworthy that made Lyric and Melody to them. Like, they're fair weather friends. Like, that didn't help them. In fact, Dee was like, well, if they're like, maybe if Mallory comes off, they'll be the replacement. Like, why are they bringing attention to them? Oh, I also forgot to mention this. I literally had it in my notes and I skipped right over it. Lyric and Rome form a showmance early on. That's still, I really don't care about them. I literally wrote Lyric and Rome, I don't care about them, sorry. There's so much so that I skipped over in my notes. That's the only bullet point I skipped over. Like, I really don't care about them. Anyways, but like, this whole Lyric and Melody trying to distance themselves from Mallory, genuinely, I don't understand the purpose. I just don't think that you should point out that you're closely aligned. It feels like, why are you trying to distance yourself from somebody when nobody was bringing up that you were like together? Like, it's not like Lyric and Rome had this budding showmance and you're like Lyric and you're trying to distance yourself from Rome, or vice versa. Like, nobody, like, people noticed that you were together, but what was the purpose of being like, hey, we're not together? Like, one, either people now suddenly notice that you're together when that wasn't something they were clocking in a significant game related reason. Like, maybe they just thought you were friends. Now they're clocking that you're like aligned to some degree, because why are you denying that you're aligned unless you're aligned? Or they knew you were aligned and you're just like coming across like a bad ally. The second that your friend is in danger, you're like, I'm not with them. It's unnecessary. I would understand it if it was like Dee was targeting Mallory because of something and you wanted to make it clear that you were not a number for Mallory. Like, but that's not the situation here. So it just accomplished nothing, and it just then made Lyric and Melody like suspicious in Dee's eyes when she wasn't even really considering them. But anyway, going into the veto competition, the two people chosen to play who were not, because it's the HOH, that's Dee, the three nominees, Mallory, Yash, and Taylor. So that's Dee, Yash, Taylor, Mallory, and then the two people chosen in addition were Melody and Barrett. Howie is the host. It's like a big thing of like, in the future, Dr. Will has taken over the world and blah, 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 blah. I don't really care. I'm sorry. It's great to see you. Nice to see you, Howie. I don't know the last time he's come back. That's exciting. That's exciting for Howie to be back. There's a really funny. The first thing I thought of when I was when I said Howie is there's literally a moment in, I think it's, I can't remember if it's Big Brother 6, Big Brother 6 or Big Brother 7. I think it's Big Brother 6, where somebody goes home and then Julie is like, it's a double eviction, and Howie gets so like happy and like doesn't let her finish. He just starts like cheering. That's the first thing that I thought of. Anyways, Mallory wins. It's like the competition is basically like you put a bunch of pipes together. And Mallory, I love this, in her little DR section, she's talking about how like she has good like spatial awareness. And you know what she does? And you know what's so funny is now on feeds they're calling her Pipe Queen. Like, that's so unserious. Or like Pipe Girl. I'm like, damn. Not Mallory has a nickname already and it's about the pipes. Like, damn. Before the renom happens, there's a side plot happening with Jason and Angela, which I kind of began talking about this earlier, and I didn't really get much into it. But as I mentioned, Jason and Angela bonded from the beginning very early on. Then they have the heartfelt moment where he mentions the fact that his mother passed away and he feels like Angela was sent to be here with him and all of these things. And then once Angela leaves, it's a very heartfelt moment. Angela connects with him. And then he looks at the camera and he's like, rolls his eyes. And it's like, again, people took such issue with this. And I wouldn't take as much issue with it if it had a purpose. He was already connected to Angela. Why are you trying to like manipulate somebody with a purpose? Okay. When I took acting classes in college, we had, I can't remember now the verbiage, but like we had to talk about like the given circumstances, like the situation of our character. And then we had to talk about our character's motivations. Like, what are they trying to accomplish in this scene? And I just don't understand. And I remember because we would have to use like an action word. And I remember my acting professor was like, don't use the word manipulate because that's too general. Like, you be specific about what you're trying. Like, are you trying to like manipulate is too general of a term. So it's like, what is he trying to accomplish in this moment? Like, I'm trying to understand his motivations in the manipulation that he's trying to do to like, what is he, if Angela didn't trust you and you were using it to build trust, if you needed something from Angela, so you were using it for sympathy so she could, it's just like there's no purpose. So then it's just like you're manipulating to manipulate, and I don't understand the purpose. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to anybody else? It's just like Angela already liked you. And that's not even the worst part, because it's like, okay, say you're just trying to manipulate. Maybe generally he wants to win Angela over more, and it's a step to winning Angela over. Okay, whatever. Let's say he didn't have a purpose for that exact manipulation, but generally he was just trying to like convince Angela, build trust with Angela, whatever. I don't understand going and then talking about it. Like, that's the thing that bothered me about Jason, is like, people on Twitter were like, oh, you guys just don't want him to target the vets, because from the beginning he was like, I want Devins out. I don't care if you're targeting the vets. I think it's smart to go after people who know more. Like, that would just be smart. Like, D has won a game. They have more experience playing these strategic games. I don't think there's anything wrong with targeting them. I think it's stupid to talk about targeting them this early on when you don't have power. Like, that's the issue with me. For me, it's not about Jason wanting to target the vets, wanting to manipulate Angela. It's just like the way he's going about it. You know? Like, this was very frustrating to me, because I'm like, what was the purpose of this? And he literally bit himself in the ass because he told Drew, and then Drew ratted them out because Drew's in this alliance, which, like, the thing is, it's not even just like, oh, he made a mistake. Like, you know, it's so funny. Julie was like, Rick Devens has loose lips. I'm like, Jason literally blew his spot up because he couldn't like help but brag about the fact that he was manipulating Angela. And the thing is, it's not even like he just like the one mistake he made was telling, like, he trusted Drew and he told Drew this in confidence. Like, he was very proudly going, like, very vocal about his strategy and like all of these things that in my opinion were unnecessary. Like, Devins telling somebody in his alliance that he's aligned with somebody else is a lot more tactical of a move than Jason just blabbing because he wants to brag about the fact that he manipulated Angela successfully. Like, whatever. But going into the veto ceremony, which happened on Monday, there was a lot of discussion about like who the replacement nominee was going to be, and because of the three groups, like what the decision was going to be. For a while, like the Melody did come up. There was also a brief moment where, and I didn't think this was actually going to happen because they were aligned, but Dee was talking about how much he didn't like Haley and how easy of a nominee Haley would have been. But I do think in the scope of the whole week and the decision she was making and how she was nominating people, that would have been really messy and unnecessary. And so then the other option was like somebody from the group, the fourth group, which was Ashley and Barrett, the group that didn't compete at all. So obviously she wasn't going to nominate Barrett, so she ended up nominating Ashley. And like I wasn't happy about this because I liked Ashley. I found her funny. I enjoyed her on feeds. Like, I didn't want her to go. Of all the people in the house, I really didn't want her to go. But I have to be honest. After she was nominated, I was just kind of like I kind of resigned myself at some point to Ashley going because I'm like, of these people, I would rather Yash go. But like I don't think Yash was particularly campaigning or anything. But I Ashley really wasn't campaigning much. Taylor was putting in the work, honestly, from the beginning to build a trust to like whatever. Anyways, Ashley tries to convince Dee, and I did watch this on feeds, that she should nominate Barrett instead. Dee was never considering Barrett because she's aligned with him. So that wasn't an option for her. So she ends up settling on Ashley. It was really between Ashley and like Melody for her. It wasn't Barrett wasn't ever an option. Ashley is the renom. And for the first few days after she was nominated, it was kind of up in the air. It was like pretty split. And then it was like, maybe we'll keep Ashley over Taylor. Maybe we'll send Yash home. Like it was a little bit up in the air for a little while. And then the turning point was Angela's paranoia. She began to have a lot of paranoia about Rome specifically. And because of this paranoia against Rome, she wanted, and she convinced her alliance that they should target somebody who is a number for Rome. So Yash is a number for Rome. Taylor is somewhat a number for Rome. Ashley isn't. Ashley's kind of on the out. So they're like, maybe we can bring Ashley in. And so for a while, it seemed like, okay, maybe it's going to be Ashley, but it was going to be, the votes were going to be pretty split because there was a side of the house that was 100% not, they were like, if it was Yash and Ashley, they would vote Ashley. If it was Yash and Taylor, they would vote Yash. Like there was a side of the house that was pretty set on like they weren't going to keep Ashley regardless. And that's like the Jason Mallory side of the house because they're closely aligned with Taylor and like, you know, so Lala, that side of the house was going to vote for Taylor to stay. They were going to vote against Ashley. So it was really like the crossovers red corner side of the house that was like considering keeping Ashley because maybe she's more useful of a number than Taylor or Yash because Taylor and Yash are maybe more closely aligned with the Rome side of the house, right? Okay. So that's kind of how things were going. It was going to be split if they did decide to keep Ashley. Now, my ideal scenario, because they were very much like, if Yash is on the block, we should just vote Yash out. That would have been my ideal scenario. I wanted Yash to remain on the block. I think if it was Yash and Ashley, in retrospect, I don't know. No, I think it could have still. I don't know. I don't know because the votes ended up not splitting, but that also like has a lot to do with the way like things transpired with Ashley. But I really don't know. It was like up in the air for a while, and I was like, I would prefer Yash to go home. I like Taylor. I do think she was playing a bit more and at least having game conversations more so than Ashley was. So I do understand. Like Taylor had numbers. She had people on her side to the point where the other side of the house, like Dee literally was like, if we vote to keep Ashley, like we need to make sure we have the numbers because I told Taylor that I wasn't going to vote for, like, Taylor has numbers and I'm not going to break a tie. And if I do, I'm going to vote in Taylor's favor because I told her I would. So like it was really up in the air. They, anyways, because Taylor had more people that Ashley didn't have. So in that regard, again, Taylor was more active than Ashley. All of these things going into, they did tell Ashley that they were considering keeping her. This ended up becoming a whole mess because then Ashley, like, whatever. The thing is, I can't fault her for trying. I don't know. I don't know. I have to be honest, I wasn't super glued to feeds on Wednesday, which is when this was happening, because I was working on my podcast episode about Love Island. So I missed a lot of the last minute scrambling of like Taylor trying, or of Ashley trying to campaign and like convince people. So like I didn't watch a lot of this live, but I do think like she just wasn't the best gamer. She was funny. I enjoyed watching her. I was sad when she went. I would have preferred Yash go. But of all the losses early on, it wasn't the worst one for me personally. Like it could have been a worse first boot. Does it suck that the first boot was a woman when we've had consistently men go? Yeah, it does. But anyway, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. In the live episode, the blockbuster, I don't really care. I'm really not describing comps. It's like a quiz one. Like they had like photoshopped images and you had to like whatever. Whatever. Yash wins. Boo, tomato, tomato, tomato. Whatever. I'm happy for him. And this is where it gets really disappointing. Okay, the votes were unanimous. There was no split house. I really think that like Dee's side of the house was kind of worried about like Dee having to break a tie to the point where they all kind of just voted Ashley because they were like, we can't sway any of the votes. And like, if any of our votes are swayed, I don't know. I understand people not wanting to be on the wrong side of the vote. And it's not like they were particularly aligned with Ashley. Like they did consider it. But then I think it would have been really interesting to see if it was Yash versus Ashley. I wish we had been in that scenario because Taylor just had more numbers. But I do think the first week built a lot of good roadblocks, even for like stuff that's ready building in the second week. Obviously the alliances, but even like the conflicts that have been brewing early on between like Jason and Angela, like that is building. The conflict between like the paranoia that Angela has against Rome and that side of the house. Like there's a lot that's building that even like 2 days into the second HOH, like so much is happening that in taking my notes and looking back on the first week, a lot has been building up and I'm so excited to talk about the second week. I'm sorry that this episode is probably a little bit shorter than my next few are going to be jam-packed, okay? Because I'm taking notes daily about feeds and it's going to be a lot more in depth. This week was just kind of like, I did my best, but my biggest mistake, I think this week was not locking into feeds on Wednesday because I missed a lot of like the last minute scrambling with the whole Ashley vote situation. So I really don't have a ton of notes on it. And I think I just at some point gave up on, like, I wasn't particularly, like, I really liked Ashley and I liked Taylor and I didn't care for Yash, but I wasn't particularly locked into any one outcome to the point where I was like, I think I kind of resigned myself to like whatever happens, happens. But next week, I'm already taking notes in detail about what happened Thursday night. I literally stayed up until 5 a.m. watching the entire thing. Okay. What's happened Friday? I'm going to lock in tomorrow, pre-veto, post-veto, the whole shebang. Up, like I'm locking in for this second week. So next week, the recap will be a little bit more in depth than this one was. But I really hope you enjoyed my thoughts. If you have any other shows that you would like me to cover, please let me know. I am locking in and committing, and Big Brother is my priority, but I am unemployed. And this podcast is really all I have going for me. So there's always times when feeds are down that I can watch other shows and take notes and then cover that on the podcast. So if there's a show you really want me to watch or you really want to hear my thoughts on, please let me know. I'd be happy to expand my coverage on other things, but I'm really locking in with Big Brother. I am so excited. I'm so excited that Rick Devens is playing. I'm so excited that Dee's playing. I'm so excited that Angela's back. I'm having a great time. Like, I'm having a great time. And I hope you are too. I hope you enjoy my coverage. You will hear from me next week. Thank you so much.